Welcome to Real Paranormal Activity, the network. Entertainment you'll enjoy.
You are listening to an RPA production, where people gather. LaFosse Corporation, LLC.
The world is full of mysteries. It's full of strangeness. And it exists with oddities. That's what we do on this show. We examine the strangeness, the mysterious, the oddities. This is Terry's Mysterious Moments, and I am your presenter, Terry from Texas. This is Season 8. Welcome if it's your first time. Welcome back if you've been here before. Go with us on this trip while we look at cryptids like Bigfoot, the Yeti, the Loch Ness Monster, and maybe even Thunderbirds. Be with us while we examine stories of legends such as werewolves, vampires, witches, ghosts, and hauntings. Thank you for being here. Enjoy the show. Hello everybody, this is Terry from Texas with another episode of Terry's Mysterious Moments. This week, I want to deal with the subject that I had seen on a Facebook page for a paranormal group, and it just piqued my interest. So I started searching, and this is what I came up with. We're going to be talking about the gates of hell. You hear stories about people talking about, oh, I visited the gates of hell, or there's supposedly the gates of hell over in that cemetery, or things like that. Well, the gates of hell are various places on the surface of the world that have acquired a legendary reputation for being entrances to the underworld. Now, we're not talking about the mafia. The underworld is the place where dead people go when they've been bad. Often, they are found in regions of unusual geological activity, particularly in volcanic areas, which makes sense, or sometimes at lakes, caves, or mountains. And a lot of those are dealing with particular religions and religious beliefs. Other reported gateways are seemingly in very innocent places. Historical legends from both ancient Greece and Rome record stories of mortals who entered or were abducted into the netherworld through such gates. Aeneas visited the underworld, entering through a cave at the edge of Lake Avernus on the Bay of Naples. Hercules entered the underworld from the same spot. In the middle of the Roman Forum is another entrance, Lacus Curtius, where, according to legend, a Roman soldier named Curtius bravely rode his horse into the entrance in a successful effort to close it, although he and his horse both perished in the deed. Odysseus visited the underworld, entering through the river Acheron in northwest Greece. Orpheus traveled to the Greek underworld in search of Eurydice by entering a cave at Tanarum, or Cape Teneron, on the southern tip of the Peloponnese. Pluto's Gate, or Plutonion in Greek, Plutonium in Latin, in modern-day Turkey, unearthed by Italian archaeologists, is said to be the entry gate to the underworld. It is linked to the Greco-Roman mythology and tradition. Rivers Cocytus, Lethe, Phlegethon, and Styx were also entrances to the underworld. The god Hades kidnapped the goddess Persephone from a field in Sicily and led her to the underworld through a cleft in the earth so he could marry her. Into the medieval period, Mount Etna in Sicily was considered to be an entryway to hell. In China, Fengdu has a long history in the Taoist tradition of being a portal to hell. In Derwiz, Turkmenistan, a burning natural gas fire in the middle of the Karakum Desert is known as the door to hell or the Darvaza gas crater. According to Hawaiian folklore, Waipio Valley contains an entrance to the lower world, Lua o Milu, which is now concealed with sand. Mount Osore in northern Japan is said to be an entrance to hell. Murgo, which is literally the gateway of darkness in Tibetan, was a caravan stop along the Karakoram Pass during historical times. The gates of hell were commonly depicted as jaws, forming the hell mouth, which was simultaneously the entrance to hell and the mouth of a huge monster. The Seven Gates of Hell is a modern urban legend regarding locations in York County, Pennsylvania. There are two popular versions of the myth, each with numerous variations. One states that a mental institution used to be located on either Toad Road or Trout Run Road, depending on the source, in Hellam Township, Pennsylvania. It was erected in a remote location so as to isolate people deemed insane from the rest of the world. One day in the 1900s, a fire broke out, and due to its remoteness, firefighters could not reach the hospital in time to save it. Many patients died in the flames, while others escaped and were soon beaten to death. The gates' role in the story is disputed. Some say that the gates were put up by the local search party to trap the remaining inmates. Others say that, completely unrelated to the asylum story, an eccentric physician who lived on the property built several gates along a path deep into the forest. Both accounts agree on only one gate being visible during the day, but the other 6 can be seen at night. According to the legend, no one has ever passed the 5th gate, but if they passed all 7, they would go directly to hell. Sounds to me like a very weird game of croquet. In reality, there is no road called Toad Road in Hellam Township, but there is one named Trout Run Road. There was no asylum on Trout Run Road, and the local doctor only put up one gate to keep out trespassers. A related myth states that Hellam was named after hell. This is untrue as well, as it is a corruption of Hallam after Hallamshire, England. The area purported to be the location of the 7 gates is on private property, and trespassers can and have been prosecuted. Personally, I find it strange that in the past, so many institutions, as in asylums or orphanages, and even private residences, have burned as part of some local legend, either involving ghosts or hell gates or some other sinister happenings. Also, a recurring theme in the Hellgate legends are steps. Steps usually in a deserted or forgotten cemetery that go down to hell. The number of steps are debatable, but the endings are similar. Last step, shake hands with Old Scratch, or the devil. The Well to Hell is an urban legend regarding a borehole in Russia, which was purportedly drilled so deep that it broke through into hell. This urban legend has been circulating around the internet since at least 1995, and I'm sure it probably went back further than that. The legend holds that a team of Russian engineers, purportedly led by an individual named Mr. Azakov in an unnamed place in Siberia, had drilled a hole that was 8.9 miles deep before breaking through into a cavity. Intrigued by this unexpected discovery, they lowered an extremely heat-tolerant microphone along with other sensory equipment into the well. The temperature deep within was 1,832 degrees Fahrenheit, heat from a chamber of fire from which, purportedly, the tormented screams of the damned could be heard. The recording was later found to be looped together from various sound effects and sometimes identified as the soundtrack to the 1972 movie called Barren Blood. The Soviet Union had, in fact, drilled a hole more than 7.5 miles deep, the Kola Super Deep Borehole, located not in Siberia but on the Kola Peninsula, which shares borders with Norway and Finland. Upon reaching the depth of 40,230 feet in 1989, some interesting geological anomalies were found, although they reported no supernatural encounters. Since its publicity, many alternative versions of the Well to Hell story have been published. In 1992, a certain U.S. tabloid published an alternative version of the story, which was set in Alaska and where 13 miners were killed after Satan came roaring out of hell. Stull is an unincorporated community in Douglas County, Kansas, in the United States. Founded in 1857, the settlement was initially known as Deer Creek, or Deer Creek, until it was renamed after its only postmaster, Sylvester Stull. As of 2018, only a handful of structures remain in the area. Since the 1970s, the town has become infamous due to an apocryphal legend that claims the nearby Stull Cemetery is possessed by demonic forces. This legend has become a facet of American popular culture and has been referenced in numerous forms of media. This legend has also led to controversies with current residents of Stull. The Stull Cemetery has gained an ominous reputation due to urban legends involving Satan, the occult, and a purported gateway to hell. The rumors about the cemetery were popularized by a November 1974 issue of the University Daily Kansan, the student newspaper of the University of Kansas, which claimed that the devil appeared in Stull twice a year, once on Halloween and once on the spring equinox. People soon said that the cemetery was the location of one of the 7 gates of hell, in the form of a stairway to hell, a set of stairs rumored to reside somewhere near an abandoned church, perhaps the nearby Evangelical Emmanuel Church ruin, which was, supposedly, possessed by the devil. Others claimed, erroneously, that the legend was engendered by the killing of Stull's mayor back in the 1850s. Now, that can't be because Stull was never organized as a town, so it never had a mayor. It is also said that during a trip to Colorado in the 1990s, the Pope redirected the flight path of his private plane to avoid flying over the unholy ground of Stull, although there is no evidence that this actually happened. Most academics, historians, and local residents are in agreement that the legend has no basis in historical fact and was created and spread by students. In the years that followed the publication of the University Daily Kansan article, the legend persuaded thrill seekers to visit the cemetery, and they would claim that weird and creepy events such as noises and memory lapses happened to them, leading to further speculation that the town was haunted by witches and the devil. It became a popular activity for young folks, especially high school and college students from Lawrence or Topeka, to journey to the cemetery on Halloween or the equinox to see the devil. Many would jump fences or otherwise sneak their way onto the property. Over the decades, as the number of people making excursions to the cemetery grew, the graveyard started to deteriorate. This was exacerbated by vandals. To combat this, the county's sheriff's office patrols the area around the cemetery, especially on Halloween, and will arrest people for trespassing. Those caught inside the cemetery after it is closed could face a maximum fine of $1,000 and up to 6 months in jail. It is my personal belief that the devil didn't come to Stull until it became a popular fright destination. In an interview with Complex magazine, pop star Ariana Grande talked about her unsuccessful attempt to visit Stull and stated that she was attacked by demons. I'll just leave that one there. St. Patrick's Purgatory is an ancient pilgrimage site on Station Island in Lough Derg, County Donegal, Ireland. According to legend, the site dates from the 5th century when Christ showed St. Patrick a cave, sometimes referred to as a pit or a well, on Station Island that was an entrance to purgatory. Its importance in medieval times is clear from the fact that it is mentioned in texts from as early as 1185 and shown on maps from all over Europe as early as the 15th century. It is the only Irish site designated on Martin Behaim's world map of 1492. Legend maintains that St. Patrick had grown discouraged by the doubts of his potential converts, who told him they would not believe his teachings until they had substantial proof. St. Patrick prayed that God would help him relate the Word of God and convert the Irish people. And in return, God revealed to him a pit in the ground, which he called purgatory. By showing this place to the people, they would believe all that he had said. By witnessing purgatory, the people would finally know the reality of the joys of heaven and the torments of hell. The next gateway is an entrance to the classical hell, the Cape Matapan Caves, which are located on the southernmost tip of the Greek mainland. Cape Matapan, also known as Cape Tainaron or Tanaro, is situated on the end of the peninsula known as the Mani. The caves open at sea level into a cliff face beneath the headland, the exact point marked by the ruins of a Spartan temple above. This was one of several entrances that the ancient Greeks ascribed to Hades, the kingdom of shades. Others were to be found at the Necromantion of Ephyra on the river Acheron, as well as Aleppo-Trippa, another smaller cave work on the Mani. The imposing stratovolcano known as Hekla can be found in the southern mountains of Iceland, a fiery pit of lava that has long been associated with the fiery pit of Christian tradition. In the Middle Ages, Cistercian monks traveled far and wide across Europe carrying tales of Hekla Fell. The monk Benedict named Hekla as the eternal prison of Judas in his poem about the voyages of St. Brendan from 1120. Later in 1341, the medieval Icelandic manuscript Flatey Book Annal described large birds that were reportedly seen flying inside the fiery crater. These were believed to be the souls of the damned. Local folklore still tells of witches who gather around the volcano's peak each Easter. An altogether quite different hellgate can be found in the heart of China, a city of ghosts with close ties to Naraka, the underworld of Chinese mythology. Visitors to Fengdu are treated to a rare glimpse into the workings of hell. Fengdu is famous for its striking traditional architecture and elaborate craftsmanship. Its streets and squares are filled with statues of ghosts and demons, as well as poignant reminders of the punishments that await the wicked in the next life. Most of the city's landmarks are linked to hellish themes: Ghost Torturing Pass, Nothing to Be Done Bridge, and Last Glance at Home Tower. Perhaps most striking of all, though, is the Ghost King, a giant carved face looking down on the city from a rock face. Measuring about 452 feet tall and about 712 feet across, Fengdu's Ghost King is the largest rock sculpture in the world. There is a cave network located in modern-day Belize, which the Mayans believed was an entrance to their underworld, Xibalba. The name Actung Tunichil Mukhnau translates as Cave of the Crystal Sepulchre. Extensive research has linked the site, located in the Tapir Mountain Nature Reserve, to ancient Mayan legends. These stories describe rivers of blood and scorpions, and a vast subterranean labyrinth ruled over by the Mayan death gods, the demonic lords of Xibalba. Since their rediscovery in 1989, the caves of Actung Tunachil Mukhnal have become a popular destination for explorers. There are numerous landmarks that make this network particularly interesting, including a vast chamber of stalactites known as the Cathedral. Amongst scattered fragments of pottery and bone, one of the more notable discoveries is the skeleton of an 18-year-old girl, believed to have been ritualistically murdered in the cave as a sacrifice to the death gods. She has been nicknamed the Crystal Maiden. Over the 1,000 years since her death, her bones have calcified to create a shimmering crystal effect. Other human remains found in the caves were believed to have been sacrifices given to the rain god Chak, and many of these show similar signs of calcification, although none are quite so perfectly preserved as the Crystal Maiden. Another theory suggests that the various dead may have been suspected of witchcraft, possibly suffering from physical or mental ailments. Their unburied corpses were sealed within the Hell Gate in hopes that their spirits might be forever trapped. Next is New Orleans. We can't leave New Orleans out. According to voodoo mythology, the newly dead are sent to a kind of purgatory before traveling to meet their ancestors in the deep waters. Known as Guinea, this twilight realm is presided over by the notorious Loa, who goes by the name of Baron Samedi. There are tales of voodoo practitioners open the gates of Guinea to reclaim the souls of the dead. Souls in this lost land are also considered to be at high risk from hoodoo magicians who have the power to reanimate them as zombies. While some followers of voodoo interpret the seven gates as a spiritual metaphor, others believe them to exist in the physical realm. One of these stories locates the gates in New Orleans. To enter Guinea, it is said that one must open the seven gates in the correct order. Each successive gate is presided over by one of the Loa of Death, the Guide, who must be appeased with the appropriate offerings. Kind of sounds like a video game nowadays. Although the exact locations of the gates have never been disclosed, there have been oblique suggestions over the years that a clue may lie in the Vive, or summoning sigil of Baron Samedi himself. Appearing as a crucifix surmounted by 7 stars, the symbol might indeed serve as a map of sorts. Once aligned over the crossroads of Canal Street and Basin Street, in the city's French Quarter, the stars of the Vive seem to fall on notable surrounding cemeteries. There are those who believe the stairway to hell might be in North Dakota. At its peak, Tagus, North Dakota, had a population of 140 residents in 1940. By 1970, that number had dwindled to 14. And by 1976, Tagus was no longer an incorporated town. Tagus became one of North Dakota's many ghost towns, leaving behind abandoned homes and businesses, as well as one church many believed housed a stairway directly to hell. According to legend, once the town of Tagus dissolved, the Lutheran Church became a place of worship for Satanists. Many believe the Satanists were mysteriously drawn to worship here because of a powerful energy. Somewhere underneath the floorboards of the church, there is a hidden stairway to hell. Although the church was burned down by vandals, the stairwell is still said to be there, covered over by earth. Some say that if you stand on the right spot at the right time, you can hear anguished screams from the souls damned to hell. Tagus cannot boast having North Dakota's only access to hell. Sure, why not give them two? In 1996, that wonderful Bastion of Truth, Weekly World News, published an article entitled Religious Task Force Finds Door to Hell. Located 3 hours east of Tagus, A mighty task force has been convened to exploit Satan's back door to hell, located in Starkweather, North Dakota. This new stairway was found by a farmer in the early 1990s when he was uprooting a tree in his field. Uprooting the tree, he uncovered a pit filled with bones. The farmer supposedly brought in experts to continue with the excavation. As they tunneled 100 feet into the earth, they allegedly reached a spiral staircase that seemed to go on forever. According to the WWN, the first explorers to descend the staircase made it 300 feet down before realizing they had entered another dimension. It soon became clear by the appearance of the stairwell that it had not been used for some time. They deduced that the tunnel may have been forgotten and therefore would be the perfect entry point for their sneak attack. A team was assembled that included exorcists, cave explorers, explosives experts, and former Delta Force commandos. Although the attack was scheduled for a month after the story published, WWN has not published a follow-up story. And to end this trip, here's a weird one that takes place in Lake Forest Cemetery in Grand Haven, Michigan. It seems that there are several people who have experienced a phantom gateway to Lake Forest Cemetery. They claim they use it once and can never find it again. But that ain't all. There's 3 tales from this place, this notorious Michigan graveyard. The first, as I mentioned, is the Phantom Gateway. The story goes that a father and his 2 sons were bicycling through the cemetery one day in 1979. After pedaling through the cemetery roads, they decided to continue their trip elsewhere. He wasn't sure where the exit was and continued to search. He decided to follow along the boundary fence that he thought would surely lead to an exit. Eventually, they came to an unknown exit on Lake Avenue that they passed through. Days later, he went back with one of his sons, looking for that mysterious exit. According to the man, I didn't find the same entrance, which we had exited on our bike trip. We just didn't find it. I went back myself several times, searching every possible road, both within the cemetery and from without. There was no such entrance or road as we had used leaving the cemetery. He says the nearest exit he could find was about a mile from where he had exited before. Then he regaled his tale to his buddies. They admitted that they too had similar experiences of passing through a phantom gateway that they could never find again, no matter how many times they went back to search. The Stairway to Hell. If you travel to the center of the cemetery, you'll see an old, partially crumbling cement staircase that goes up the hill where the Grand Haven founding fathers are said to be buried. The eerie surroundings are enhanced by the secluded area it's in, with old tombstones dating back to the 1800s. The Blue Man of Lake Forest Cemetery. The Blue Man is said to be the ghost of Reverend William M. Ferry, one of the town's founding fathers. He sits upon his tombstone and other nearby grave markers, watching over the cemetery in the form of a blue light. The Blue Man is a legend that has been around for many, many years. Lake Forest Cemetery was established in 1872, and paranormal investigators claim there are ghosts aplenty on hand. Actual apparitions and sometimes glowing lights have been seen emanating out of cracks in some of the tombstones. So, do entrances to hell exist as physical places where one can actually get into the place of the lake of fire? Or are they simply dare spots where teens and adults goad each other to prove their fearlessness? Or could entrances to hell be spiritual situations opened by making bad decisions in life or following a bad path? I guess that would depend upon your spiritual outlook. I hope everybody has a good week. Thanks for being here. Bye-bye.